Save the Children is a 100-year-old organization started post-World War I in response to the humanitarian needs of kids who were orphaned and harmed through that war. And today, the organization, 100 years later, is working in over 100 countries, doing whatever it takes in times of crisis and need to help kids have a healthy start to life, opportunities to learn, and protect them from harm.
Welcome to Business Ninjas, brought to you by WriteForMe, where you'll hear from business leaders who are out there growing their business and slaying it every day. Learn from the masters. Let's get started.
Hey everybody, welcome back for another episode of Business Ninjas. I'm here today with Ryan Murphy. He's the Senior Director of State and Electoral Campaigns at Save the Children Action Network. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Yeah, excited to have you. So Ryan, why don't you start and tell me a little bit about yourself?
Well, thank you I'm really excited to be here. I'm Ryan Murphy. I'm the Senior Director of State and Electoral Campaigns for Save the Children Action Network, the political advocacy arm for the internationally acclaimed non-government organization Save the Children. At Save the Children Action Network, also known as SCAN, we focus on advancing policies that help kids survive and thrive, working with advocates to advance policies and engage elected officials from city council to the White House to make sure kids are a priority. Ultimately, we strive to be what AARP is for older folks for young kids. I've been with SCAN since 2016, but I've been working on social justice issues and managing electoral campaigns for 15 years now, and really excited to continue this work with SCAN.
That's really fascinating. It sounds like, you've had a bit of a journey kind of getting to SCAN. So why don't you tell me a little bit more about, about SCAN and how SCAN got started?
Sure. Yeah, so as the political advocacy arm of Save the Children is a 100-year-old organization started post-World War I in response to the humanitarian needs of kids who were orphaned and harmed through that war. And today, the organization, 100 years later, is working in over 100 countries, doing whatever it takes in times of crisis and need to help kids have a healthy start to life, opportunities to learn, and protect them from harm. Last year alone, we served 183 million children, including 800,000 here in the US. And my organization is the sister organization for Save the Children. We work to make sure that issues that impact kids are front and center for elected officials. We were founded with the belief that while direct service is essential, in order to change the status quo, it requires political engagement. And over the last 9 years, since we were created in 2014, we have grown to have hundreds of thousands of children advocates working with us across the country, and have 3 main constituency programs. One for students, so high school and college students can learn how to advocate and to affect change. One for our volunteer leader program, which is for adult individuals who commit to a 2-year commitment with our organization, and we help them grow and develop, and they manage and lead campaigns in their local communities. And then most recently, our family engagement program, which we launched 2 years ago, and it allows for parents and caregivers with lived experience dealing with early learning and child nutrition programs to share their stories and their expertise with elected officials to inspire change.
So it sounds like there's kind of 3 different avenues for how, SCAN is able to support, giving children these voice. So do you want to kind of break down each one of those pieces and maybe start with the advocacy piece and kind of talk to me a little bit about what the advocacy in high school, what that looks like and kind of the process of that?
Yeah. So we know that in high school and college, young people are finding themselves. It's also when they're most passionate and optimistic. So what we realize is giving these young youth tools and opportunities to speak up on behalf of issues that are impacting possibly their siblings, or sharing their stories not that many years before of how they benefited from having access to Head Start or free school meals, allows them to see that they have power and give them opportunity to bring about change. We also know that with the issues that we work on, there's a lot of intersectionality. So if you learn how to speak and advocate on issues dealing with education or child nutrition, they're better equipped in knowing how to use those tools on other issues or concerns that are impacting them or their community. So it's really great to see these young high school and college students really blossom and find themselves. And it's led to some of them choosing a career path that will be doing direct service or advocacy work, or some of them seeking and thinking about running for office later in life. So it's really awesome to have that opportunity to provide them skills and chances to learn things at such a pivotal moment in their lives.
And I think that's a really interesting point, because that is a very impactful age where, like you said, people are very, optimistic. They're, finding themselves and, giving them the tools to, communicate in a way that's not necessarily just over, Snapchat or things like that. I imagine is huge for huge for that generation.
Definitely.
Yeah. So that kind of takes us to the second tenet of SCAN, talking about the volunteer leader program. Talk to me a little bit more about that.
Sure. So this is an opportunity that's open and available to anyone. We have a lot of people who come who are associated with the field that we work in. So they might be a pediatrician or a preschool teacher, a librarian, but then also individuals who understand and share our values of wanting to help kids have fair, equal opportunities. So grandparents and people or aunts and aunts and uncles who just see and know of a kid in their lives, or have experience that they remember growing up and wanting to know how to bring about change.
Mm-hmm.
So right now we have volunteer leaders throughout the country, and what we do is we know that they're investing in us, giving about 5 to 10 hours a month to advocate, and we want to build them up. And so we provide special trainings and resources, bring them to Washington, D.C. to meet with elected officials, coordinate for them to testify and meet with lawmakers in their states. And they've had direct impact on legislation being introduced, legislation passing, making sure that ballot measures move forward and are advanced. So it's been remarkable to see these individuals as well, who are in a different phase of their life, really inspire change. And it's also led to some of them changing their career paths or being able to gain new skill sets that can not only help an issue they care about, but then also improve their career opportunities and prospects in the future.
Wow, that's fantastic. And, very much needed in addition to, the advocacy program. So like you said, kind of taking a different, maybe different age group and, tailoring their reach in a different way, I imagine is super impactful. So that kind of takes us to that third piece, which is the family engagement. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So overall, this is a big tent movement and all are welcomed. But my main focus right now has been on creating avenues and opportunities to elevate the voices and perspectives of those historically marginalized communities, especially those who are benefiting from or ought to benefit from publicly funded services, but might not be able to because there's no services provided in their community, or they're just right above that threshold, but are still living in extreme poverty.
Mm-hmm.
So the families that we're working with, many of them are parents who might have multiple jobs or work irregular hours. All of them face different hardships due to just the life dealing with poverty. And our work with the family engagement, we really tailor it to support families in rural communities. So in addition to the hardships that people may face in poverty, these communities also have a lack of transportation, a lack of food access, and even utilities might not be readily available. So our mission is to really meet people where they are, to tailor our approach for the individual, to limit barriers to participation, for example, providing childcare stipends and food assistance, whatever is needed to help them in seeing and understanding that they have power, and then giving them opportunities in which to use their story to inspire change with the general public as well as elected officials.
Yeah. And why do you think the work that that SCAN is doing is so impactful on these families?
Yeah, I think it's impactful because for too long, uh, well, just in general in the United States, we are becoming politically polarized, and people, regardless of where they sit on the political spectrum, believe that the system's not working for them. And for many people, they have a valid reason for believing that and feeling that. Uh, what I think the families who we work with and just the general advocates that we work with in general is they have an opportunity to see that their voice does matter, and we help in providing them uh, campaigns and coordinating with a few and other individuals in order to bring about change. And so when you see that and you believe that your voice doesn't matter, that nobody cares, and then being able to have lawmakers sit down and listen to you, or advocate for a bill and see it pass, is really inspiring. And I've seen a spark in many of the parents that we work with go from just learning and being able to write a letter to the editor, which is a small constituent submitted article,
Mhm.
to moving up and now being on a national board, because they know that they have their perspective's important,
Yeah.
and we will help and engage with people wherever they are. So if somebody has English, an ability to speak English fluently, we'll work with them and help them in still sharing their story, or literacy issues, or whatever it may be, because we know that if you are living in poverty and you are benefiting from or need these programs, you understand what's working and what's not, and that centering that perspective is essential for creating and sustainable solutions that can help kids thrive.
Yeah. And systemic change as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. Do you think that it's really going above and beyond and putting, the needs of the children, of the families, of everybody that SCAN interacts with above everything else, really what separates you from other nonprofits?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of great partners who are doing this work at the state and federal level. So I'm very mindful and appreciative of that.
Mhm.
I think a niche that we provide is um, we are come at this as organizers, and so we know how to take that content, talk about those issues, and work with groups that are impacted or with early learning and child nutrition, but then being able to, as political operators, move forward campaigns throughout the legislature, as well as through the ballot box. Save the Children Action Network, SCAN, we are both a 501c3 and a C4. So that means we're a nonprofit, but we're also have the ability to endorse candidates. And
Mhm.
so we help reelect lawmakers who we see are champions for children. Last year, we supported through independent expenditure campaigns the reelection of two Democrats, the governor of New Mexico and the governor of Colorado, and then a Republican, a governor of Idaho, all of which have different approaches to helping kids, but they all have the shared commitment on moving things forward and have made policies move forward that did make a difference in their first term. So we are happy to help them in their second. So that's, I think, we, unlike many of our partners, we have the dual benefit of more political campaigning expertise, as well as the ability to endorse and help reelect lawmakers who keep true to their word and keep to their commitment.
Yeah. I think you raised a really great point talking about how polarized the political atmosphere is right now. So, talk to me a little bit
Sure.
about how, in your role, you've been able to, continue to grow engagement despite kind of, the atmosphere out there.
Yeah. Um, I mean, regardless of where one sits on the political spectrum, we all have kids in our lives. And I'm not saying that the policy solutions and approach is going to be the same, but there are shared principles. And I think as an organization, we have done a good job, and really strive to be a bridge builder.
Mhm.
So, I mean, some of the policies when you're working on, they might associate with one political party over the other, but in reality, we know that there's a huge economic interest, there's a national security interest, there's a humanitarian and just compassionate interest in
Mhm.
helping kids in our community thrive. I mean, that their success determines our future success, and it's the best investment we can make as a country.
Mhm.
So what we do is we engage not only the advocates where they are, but the lawmakers where they are, and find ways to bring the message home and to connect them with their constituents so they see that this is important in their community. But then also to educate them on how access to high quality early learning
Mhm.
improves high school graduation rates. It
Mhm.
improves that child's future career path and their wage earnings over a lifetime. And it decreases the likelihood that they'll have teen pregnancies,
Mhm.
and or be arrested for a violent crime. So it's a great investment. Some analysis, one most recently by Professor Heckman, suggests that there's a 13 to 1 ROI, return on investment. For every dollar we invest in early child education, we get $13 back,
Wow.
by reducing the cost of special ed and services that the kids might need later on in life, improving the odds that they graduate, and also that they're able to, when they start their kindergarten education, they're ready to learn and they're not already behind.
Mhm. Mhm. I a fun fact about me, I was a school social worker for several years, and I have my MSW. So the importance of investing in the children is something that is certainly not lost on me. And that was a big
Sure.
part of my role, is talking about advocacy and saying, no matter where you come from, no matter what zip code, what walk of life you come from, socioeconomic status, what political background, it's so important that you put the children first, because they are the future. And there is a very strong correlation between early childhood education, and the school to prison pipeline. It's statistically proven. So kind of being able to invest in the children, I think, is so important in the work that you're doing. So, I did some research obviously on you guys. So you guys have a big summit coming up in July, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah,
Yeah,
talk to me a little bit about it.
we'll be bringing advocates from across the country to Washington, D.C. We do this annually as a way to provide training. And so advocates will come, the three different constituency groups that we just mentioned will all come and convene. We will have 2 days where they'll hear from policy experts as well as people who have lived experiences. And then they will also hear from our government relations team, and we'll train them on how to have effective conversations with lawmakers. And on
Mhm.
the third day, we will go and we'll have a lobby day. We'll have hundreds of meetings with lawmakers, talking about an essential issue right now, which is our biggest campaign, and that's to ensure that when we authorize the Farm Bill, which is a piece of legislation that deals with everything nutrition related, that we don't lose sight of, and that we preserve and ideally expand funding for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also
Mhm.
known as SNAP or food stamps, as it is a lifeline for many families, but especially families who have young children.
Mhm.
And access to that nutrition will determine their health and development, as well as their ability to concentrate and learn in school.
Yeah, yeah. I when I was a school social worker again, the food, then the food stamps, the food act is so important, and school nutrition is so crucial because if you're sitting in class and you can't think of when you're going to eat next, how are you supposed to focus on like learning simple mathematics or things like that? And you want to talk about like behavior issues, all of that. I digress. You're hitting a spot in me, Ryan. You're hitting a spot in me. Um, but no, I think that's it's a great piece of legislation that that SCAN is backing. So What else, is SCAN currently backing? Like, what else has the organization achieved that you've seen?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, last year in Congress, we were helpful in reauthorizing the maternal, infant, and early childhood home visiting program, also known as McV. And that allows for a voluntary service that allows for a nurse or somebody who can provide assistance if a child has developmental issues at an early stage, from prenatal, even like helping mothers with prenatal care before they give birth. So it's a completely optional program, but by the funding that comes through that can really make a difference and help children get diagnosed early on and get the supports and services that they need, so that they don't have a further delay when they enter the K-12 system. We also have played a big role in moving forward state policies. So last year we helped expand full day kindergarten in Idaho. We helped expand universal school meals in Colorado. We, even at the local level, our organization plays a role. We've renewed levy in Washington State, at King County, to help children from birth to 23 and just that childhood development, and supporting the expansion of the Seattle preschool program, which allows for Seattle residents to have free or reduced price pre-K. So we engage at every level of government, and really find where there's opportunities to advance policies that can help kids.
Yeah, no, that's crucial. Do you think, kind of pivoting a little bit, talking about common misconceptions? I know you're working on so many great and amazing things. Do you think
Sure.
one of the biggest misconceptions is that, like, maybe just like one voice doesn't matter? What would you say the biggest misconception is?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail right on the head. I think the biggest misconception in this line of work is that we as the individual do not have the power to affect change. And I mean, I said it before, I understand and resonate with many of the reasons why people might feel apathetic about political advocacy,
Hmm.
especially those who have faced systemic barriers to civic engagement. But when thinking about this question, I'm reminded of a quote that is often said by the founder of SCAN, Mark Shriver, who is of the Kennedy Shriver family. He often, when asked by advocates about why should I care, or the power, what power do I have, he would quote Margaret Mead, and the quote is, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." And really, I think politics boils down to one word, and that's power.
Hmm.
And we as voters ultimately have the power, even if we understand that it's a David and Goliath kind of situation sometimes. But we work with advocates to teach them skills and create opportunities and connect them with like-minded people,
Hmm.
so that that small group, it relatively can make a big difference. And we've seen that happen time and time again. So that's our focus, is to change the power dynamics and to give people the opportunities to speak truth to power on behalf of their kids and families.
Yeah. So if people wanted to go to learn more, where would they go to learn more about SCAN, to learn more about how they can get involved? Where would they go?
Sure. Yeah. So the best place to visit would be SaveTheChildrenActionNetwork.org. So that's one word altogether. Um, you can also just Google SCAN, and we'll come up. And please follow up, reach out if you have any questions. Uh, Taking actions, even if it's just a quick action alert here and there, is a great way to add your voice, and to join our movement to help kids survive and thrive.
That's fantastic. Ryan, as we wrap up this conversation, is there anything that you want to leave our listeners with, either about, the Save the Children Action Network, any of the, the current, pushes or focuses that Save the Children's Action Network has? Anything that you want to leave our listeners with?
Yeah, only that you can help make a difference. We have trainings and support people just who might have very limited capacity, but knowing how to use their social media channels to make a difference and to join campaigns. So I highly encourage you to check out the website. to reach out, and we're happy to work with anybody, regardless of your political ideology, regardless of your age, your experience in these issues, because your voice matters, and together we can truly move forward this movement to help kids have their full potential by the time they enter kindergarten.
That's fantastic. Well, Ryan, this has been a great conversation. I appreciate you, breaking down all of the great initiatives and the great, pushes that Save the Children's Action Network is behind, all the legislation, all of the training that you're doing on the back end to support, the Gen Z or the teenage population, working with, the volunteer leadership program, and then, family engagement as well. I think it's fantastic. And I really appreciate you being on Business Ninjas today.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.